Hey guys, it's me again, or Slayer What Ifs. Where I last left off, I believe it's that Deku and them had, well, to get a quick recap, Deku's third in command, Toga's no longer docked, Deku has a couple vandals following him with his colors. The hunter, he's getting more of recognition by the cities. Cade feels remorse about not going after Deku to try and kill him to prevent Artanix. Is there anything else I'm missing? No. Also, Endeavor, Sato, Monoma, and forget her name, Jiro. There we go. And not Todoroki and Bakugo. Those are the guardians are in the way. So as I continue off, Deku and them had just gotten done burying their friend or their follower. They all have a little ceremony. And that's the end of that. Deku has his own quarters, I would say, because since he's third in command, he has his own little room that he has, and on his dresser, and I'll just give a description. It's just a normal bed. He has his weapon, some of his armors in the corner, and he's been grabbing a few collectibles. Let's say, like in the first place he went to, he collected like a few little figurines and such. Like one of a deer, one of a bear, and now the one of toy, not soldier. So he has all those. Now, out of nowhere, there's just on the door. He opens it, and it's the Baron saying, "Come, we have a meeting." Not like we have a meeting, but he's like, "I got an assignment for you. Come." And as he's walking in, the captain is there as well. She's like, "Yes, what is it that we are doing?" They are sending in more FOTC. We have one more place to hit, and then we should be done here. Really, sir? Yes. I also have received some reports that a few houses are trying to make a move into here. And Deku's like, "If I may ask, which one, sir?" He's like, "We got the House of Bulls, of course, the House of Devils, and an unknown house. We haven't seen them. Could just be a mercenary group." Deku's like, "I highly doubt that. How many of these colors have we seen?" "Not many. They're called the House." Oh, excuse me. These are called the House of Jaguars. Deku's just thinking, what's the deal with all the cats? Oh, well, I digress. So he asked, "What's the big deal? The House of Jaguars and us?" "Well, let's just say we're on good terms with the House of Jaguars, and the Bulls and Devils are going to be more of a problem for the city. Our problem is that we're almost done here. We'll hit the last place, then we're out." "That's it? We're not trying to control this area?" "Nope. I gave a sort of transmission to the Kel. He says not worth it. That if these many forces are coming in here, it's either something's really valuable or this is about to become a pit of fighting." So he's like, "We'll get to the last thing." So he's like, you'll be bringing them out again. Understood?" "Yes, and take your gang with you." So as they get this, Deku talks to his entire gang. I believe it was twice Dobby, and I forgot the other name I gave to the thing. See, there's Toga, Twice, and Dobby, and Magna was the one that died. Yep. So he has them, and they're all still wearing their black armor, still following Deku. The others are like discussing. He's saying that how there'll be distractions again, and that they'll be supported by a few shanks, a few dregs, and that's like 12 dregs. So as he says this, he's like, so we'll each take the front. And Dobby and Twice is more like Kaminari in the fact that, not Kaminari, but Mina, as in he's the fact he likes to be like a skirmisher. He fires from medium range with the like shock pistols. But in this case, he has a shock rifle, just going like. And Dobby likes to use a shrapnel rifle, like Deku. And Dobby, like, his gang is much smaller than he is. Like I said, he's like about 6 inches taller than every other Vandal. So he's about 6 inches taller than his gang. So as that's happening, they all like start to agree with him. And I'll also say, since he is the commander of that little gang, he has his like own little way of gang recognition. Like his armor's a bit different and everything. Like a bit things to like show he's a higher rank and such. He didn't want that at first, but then they just sort of like, we gotta differentiate between us because our armors are kind of pretty much the same. So, you know, we gotta add some style to ours. So he does that indeed. He like, his armor is a bit more like, I guess, heavy in a way. Like, his armor's like, he has more armor. And he doesn't really have like that full-fledged cape flying. He more or less has like the black, like, spray painted on. Like little black streaks. While the others like wear like little capes and like little shoulder capes. That sort of stuff is what they wear. To signify who they are and that they're part of his crew. But I digress. Well, I'll say he still has a cape, but isn't like a giant long one that like most Vandals have. It's like more like a cloak. You know what I mean. But I digress. So as they move in, they draw out the hive again. This time they don't really have to retreat because this is like a smaller little brood, like a little smaller little brood. So as they rush out, they just move in very quickly. With the dregs and shanks as support, they just take out the entire thing. They radio into the Baron like, "Shh, Baron, the situation is clear. Shall we wait for you or should we move in?" He's like, "Move in. We'll come in. We're coming up." So as they're moving in, they just do it all slow, methodical. He tells the captain and her crew to like stand behind, keep guard just in case another house comes looking. So what she does is that they all like hide. They're like all hiding behind stuff and just keeping an eye out. And then the Baron takes his gang, his crew and such to follow in Deku. Deku's saying they really haven't found anything, but they're starting to see, like, they have come in contact with like, an acolyte or a few thralls, but nothing much. So, as he's moving in, slow and methodical, he's like, and then they reach a giant room. Not a giant room, but similar to the convoy. But there isn't like this mass amounts of hive and such. So they just sort of keep moving forward. Just like, He's like, "We found an opening. Should we wait for you?" He's like, the Baron's like, "No, keep going, Ian. We're covering up. We should be with you soon." Then the Baroness calls in like, "We've been engaged. Like, we're under attack." The Baron's like, "Who is it?" Deku's like telling his entire gang to stop, to like, "Hold up. It's the House of Bulls." The House of Bulls, Hive, and Devils have all sort of come down on them all at once. It was just like some weird accident. The Devils, this section of the Devils still hates House of Bulls. House of Bulls still wants Devils dead, and both houses want the lions dead. Then the hive showed up because they do their whole. Because the hive have realized that the areas in this way, these areas have been attacked by this fallen house, so they've been waiting. So when they arrived, like, they waited a bit after, so now each of the groups are cut off. So what they do, spawn a bunch of hive by getting those ships and teleportation things in. So they just go like, just materialize. The Baron and his group are like fighting off like thralls, acolytes, and the knights. The captain on the outside, her people have taken up positions, are like fighting into the massive crowds. Plus there's hive inside and outside, and then there's the other two houses that are trying to kill each other. So it's kind of a mosh pit right now, I believe is the word. So Deku's crew, what happens to them is that 3 ogres, a bunch of thrall, that's it. Thank God. Deku like has his dregs and such form up, and they're all just like firing. They've had to like fall. They're trying to fall back. They've fallen back into the cave a bit because that's all they can do. But it's still big enough for like an ogre and such to get in. So the ogres are like climbing up, like roar. Deku, this time, doesn't have his bandolier of grenades because he had to use them that entire one thing. But he does have flashbangs, so he starts lobbing those out. The ogres like are blinded, and one of them actually backs up and like falls down, like rolling down the thing, and then crushes a bunch of vandals. Another one just like starts swinging and hits another ogre. Then those two start going at it, and now the thrall are the only problem, really. So Deku and his crew are just slowly backing up and take care of the thrall. Now at this time, they run backwards, so that way they can. The Baron's like, I'm losing troops, need more support. As this happens, Deku and his gang just burst open and go and just crush through the forces that have surrounded the Baron. He talks to the Baron. And I'll give you some at this point, the Baron like slams like 2 knights into one another and steps on another, crushing quite a few of them. And as this is happening, what happens is that the Baron's vandals, dregs, and shanks are just being cut down bit by bit. Sorry, the dogs are barking if you hear that. All of them are being taken down very quickly. So, as they continue forward, Deku's group bursts in to come and deal with it. As that happens, they just sort of blast away, just constantly blasting. And as they blast their way through that entire little thing, they just, well, as the meme says, and I started blasting. They clear out like the hive knights and all the hive that are like hampering their entire like thing. So they rush forward, and like he sort of discusses with the Baron for a short minute what they're gonna do. He's like, "We move outside, help her." As he hears that, he's like, "Roger that." So as they go to rush out to assist the Baronet, not the Baroness, but the captain with her situation, they rush in and they just, again, start blasting. The Baron, in this time, is just firing his scorch can, like, no, sorry. But he's, like, quite literally blasting, like, dozens of troops apart in the thrall. This is like a big battle, so as they rush forward, the Kirishima with his scimitars and such, no, sabers, that's the weapon, it's sabers, and his like group of sabers are like rushing forward, like cutting down the thrall, and Deku and his dregs and such, and his little crew are up there just blasting away at acolytes and such. While Kaminari, Mina, and all of them are like at a farther distance, just not blasting, but taking shots and everything, just trying to thin out this massive horde that has just been spawned on top of the Baroness. Now, as this is going on, the FOTC have seen this. And as the FOTC see this, they're like trying to figure out, they're like, dang it, what the heck happened? So, as they're all trying to figure out, they see that it's 3 fallen houses and the hive. A 4-way battle. So as they go on and go on, I believe I said it was the Jaguars. A bunch of Jaguars show up to see what's happening. This was a Baroness and her crew. For reasons, because I've had this idea run through my head a few times. Tell me if you like it or not. She has an all-female crew. So as they're blasting away at their little thing, they're blasting away at this whole heap of tons. And they run over to assist the lions. And a few of the Jaguars notice the black and white armors. So they're like, what are those? We don't know, just keep fighting. So as they just start taking them down, then the House of Bulls notice them, and then they stop attacking the devils, and just go full force trying to cut through the hive to get to our guys. And some of the scouts have taken notice that, and they're reporting in, hang on, the House of Bulls are charging straight for the other 2 houses. And at this point, there's a House of Bull Baron and a House of Devils Baron. They're quite big as well. Charging straight forward, just using their, one of them is using 2 giant pairs of sabers, and another one's just rushing forward with shrapnel rifles. He's just blasting through them. Their groups are just fighting towards each other. So as this happens, it's time for a giant melee. The Jaguars and the Lions charge forward, and it's more like a battle now. So they're there's Deku and his crew just throw, before the Jaguars and Panthers rush forward to the fray, what happens is that they throw a bunch of flashbangs and grenades, deciding to, so as I was just saying, they all do their thing, so that way they can, not they all, but they throw their flashbangs and grenades in to blind and blow the smithereens, the vandals, the dregs, the shanks that are trying to foolishly charge their position while taking down quite a bit of thrall. This point is just indiscriminate killing. A House of Bull is killing another House of Bull just because they don't know what's happening. They literally can't tell who's friend or foe right now. All they can tell is that if they're charging at me, they're most likely an enemy. So a few devils and a few bulls get killed by quote-unquote friendly fire. And so as they're charging in, the Deku's Baron is firing upon them with his Scorch Cannon. And then the friendly female Jaguar Baron is firing upon the enemy group with her shrapnel rifle. The Elixni do not use many weapons. So, I gotta work with what I got. Well, I'll say she uses a tougher version of a shrapnel rifle. Where it's similar to a shotgun, I guess. Not shotgun, but similar to a semi-automatic rifle, where it's more stronger bolts of plasma, but does overheat more easily. So as they're doing that, Deku and them are forming lines and just cutting down the House of Devils and the House of Bulls, and then they make it through. But before that ends up happening, Deku Kirishima asks, like, should he lead a counter? Should they, like, charge in as well? It's like, the Baron's like, no, we shouldn't keep firing. So so the main ones that use melee just pull out the rifles and just start shooting down. Just Toga, Twice, and Dobby are still kind of right next to Deku, firing away. Some of the other female vandals take notice of Deku, just like, as he's like bigger than all the other vandals around. He's not as big as the captain, but he's bigger than the vandals. So they take notice. So does the female Baron. So they all take notice of him. So as they're doing this, finally, one of the ogres finally manages to claw out. But they had their back end defended because Deku had sort of told the Baron about this, and then the Baron hears that the ogre. Then a drag from the back says that the ogre finally showed up, and Deku's like, I'll go deal with this, you all stay here. So as he rushes back there with his crew, they run back and just start lighting up this ogre, just rushing in, slashing at the knees with the sabers, and they just like cut off the knees like an Achilles tendon. It falls down. And then they rush forward, and then just, like, it gets knocked over, and it's just, like, stabbed, like, multiple, and just cut to ribbons. At this point, the Baroness has, like, jumped down with a bunch of her, I guess, Baron's Guard, and just, like, starts stomping on all the, like, start crushing the other fallen from the House of Devils and Bull, and they take them down relatively quickly. And that's pretty much the end of that. The House of Lions Baron just sort of thanks the Jaguar, but questions why are they here, and that they should probably also leave because there's FOTC. And after that ruckus, they're going to be coming down hard. As he explains this, she explains that they were sort of told, they weren't really told, they were just coming around and, like, saw what was happening, and they were curious, so she sent a few of her scouts down, and they told her that the House of Lions were embattled right now, that a female captain, she specifically notes this, that a female captain was in trouble, so she came to help. So he's like, if it was a male, you would have left him here? She's like, maybe not. Depends on how bad the situation was. Either way, there is no way she was going to survive this. So as that gets done, Deku, like, sort of runs up after, like, the battle's over and says, we took care of the ogre. Oh, god damn it, why am I yawning? And he rushes over and describes what happened. And says, should they proceed further into the mine, or should we just take a minute? The Baron's like, if you can scrounge some of them who want to go check out the mine, go ahead. As he just takes a seat, he's like, I will wait here. So Deku, like, scrambles together, like, a bit of the like a dozen dregs, his crew of vandals, and like an extra or two, and several shanks as they like take into the mine. They would like move forward. As they're clearing this out, they don't really find anything except for wonderful scrap and parts that they can use. So as they just like start, he's like, dismantle everything, take everything, grab as much as you can, and as he's like, we made it rich, boys. Or like, we made it rich, people. As they're like, yeah. So they all start taking parts and such, so that way they can like give it in. So that way they'll get their like a nice little bit of Easter rations and such. So, and they each like give, like some of them try to give some of their scrap to Deku. He's like, no, you keep it. You could use the ether after what we've been to today. As he states this, he like pats him on the he like tells them all that they deserve ether, that they're gonna earn from all this scrap and salvage that they're bringing in. They're like, yeah. So they all like get done and to like take everything. Deku goes up to the overseer's office, see if he can find another collectible. As he's scrounging around, he finds a nice little turtle. Yep, a nice little turtle figurine. He's like, ooh. He's looking at it, and he decides that he likes it, so he just puts in his like little thing. He doesn't see anything else. He like looks around, but the only thing he really sees, well, is nothing really of interest. So what he does is that's all he really does, and so they all head back up. And as the Baroness and the Baron are talking, Deku and his crew like come out with like wheelbarrows, like literal wheelbarrows and sacks full of salvage. And yeah. So as they rush out, they sort of talk to the Baron and says, "We got quite the haul now." Baron's like, "How much is quite?" As he gets up, and the female Baroness sort of follows suit, and Deku's explaining that this mine was nearly untouched. Had to be sold off for quite a while. Many of the salvage is good condition. If I may ask me, the ones who went back in get a tiny bit more ethos for bringing this much. And the Baron thinks on this for a moment. He's like, oh, why not? They were the ones who decided to go in. They should be rewarded. So as he says this, it's like, good job, extra ether for you lot. And they like all cheer like, so the female Baroness says that they're done and that they'll be leaving. The Baron says that he owes her and that she needs anything, she should, oh god, that he should just contact her. She's like, noted. So they all leave. The Barons, not the Barons, but Deku, his Baron, his captains, and such, just sort of pack up all their stuff and they head home. This has been a bit not a long assignment, but they've been there for like, 6 months? Like 5? I don't know. So they gather up all their stuff, but at this point, some of the FOTC with the frames and such, they come knocking, so they're like, sup? So as the Baroness and her crew have like made it back to their ships, they're attacked by like a fire team consistent of Endeavor and Jiro and Todoroki. They assault those, and so as they realize this, they're supported by like a couple of squads of humans, and then the other team is supported by the frames and such. So as they're all moving in, they all just do their thing. So they just fire and just unload like. The Baron and them are all like falling back into their base so they can defend it. Deku and his crew just sort of like fall back in first, like not Todoroki, but Bakugo points him out and like does the finger thing, like you're dead. And so sort of like moves in. They're just constantly fired. Deku is like talking with the Baron about what they should do. The captain at this point, she's holding the line. They're like just shooting down the frames and using what ammo and such that was left. This point, the other like dregs and such, they've gotten all the salvage in, are like moving in and like bringing up ammo and such. Because I'm pretty sure that stuff needs ammo, but I digress. So at this point, what Deku does is that, also they brought their pikes. They were like given permission to bring the pikes and such. So Deku, Kaminari, and also Dabi and Twice sort of get on the pikes and they just rush out like. And they've upgraded them a bit to like hit harder, sort of like the Heavy Wolves pike, the Heavy House of Wolves pike. but it isn't blue. It's black and white. So they just start firing like firing their giant things of art, taking out several frames and humans alike. So as they're doing this, they like rush off. Bakugo like rushes off after him. So he's like, as well as Monoma are rushing off after him. Sato was like trying to keep him back, but then he has to keep his attention ahead by like keeping the others alive. He's using the Sentinel shield, so he's like throwing the shield and like hitting them and such. I don't think I told. I think I didn't tell you guys what type of Titan he was. If I did, I'm sorry. But I know that each one can use different classes, so I digress. He just sort of uses his shield to like cover the entire crew. Not entire crew, but like the squads. And then those squads use heavy rocket launchers and grenade launchers to take them down. So, I digress. So, Deku and them split off. Also, the Baroness for the House of Jaguars has evacuated. A few of her a bit of her forces got taken down, but the FOTC got numbers lost as well. So as Deku and them split up, Monoma is like going after Deku and Kaminari, while Bakugo is after the other three. Not other three, the other two. So as they split off, Deku does and then they split off again. So as they split off, they just do. And Monoma still is chasing on Deku. He is after Deku. But at this point, Deku literally gets ready and then jumps. He jumps up and then grabs on to Monoma and throws him into a tree, breaking his back. He walks over and kills him this time. Now, I don't know what it takes. I know that a Guardian's light has to either be completely gone, ghost destroyed, or another thing that I can't think of. Those are some of the only ways that a Guardian can finally die. As far as I know. Then again, maybe I'm wrong. And also, if you know about Fellwinter and how he's killed Guardians before, that's because when a Guardian has a weapon, he also puts a bit of his power into it, so he can kill Guardians and Ghosts. But I digress. He takes care of Monoma and them. So as they continue forward, Deku and them just meet up and kill Bakugo. At this point, Sato and the FOTC have had to retreat. This has been a fail with quite a few losses on both sides. The captain's alive. Deku's crew's alive, but some of the Vandals and Drakes have been taken down. So the Baron calls in the skiff and they get everything out there. They literally go. He's ensuring and has posted Deku and his crew to stay watch. Endeavor at this point are rushing over. They talk about how they lost a lot of their forces. At this point, Deku and them, they've loaded up. Deku has gotten all his stuff. They're all loaded up. They're up. And as this is going on, Deku's running up and finally gets on the before he goes, he's standing at the edge of the mountain looking over and ensuring everything's gone, including all their pikes, all their weapons, and all the dregs are gone, and Vandals and such. As they're gone, as he's going up, Endeavor sees them. He's like, hurry! Deku just goes tilts his head and then just teleports up. Because if you don't remember, I gave him the teleportation and shield module. And he's big and specially designed. He teleports up. And as that's the end of that, Endeavor gives a roar. And just sort of smashes a boulder. He's like, dang it! I knew I should have gone here. Great. Where's Bakugo and Monoma? As they come out of the forest, we're back. Oh, did you guys manage to get any of them? They're no. Oh, Deku's infamy or famous has spread now that he managed to not kill, but take down guardians left and right again. And how he's been like leading small parties into hive. He's been leading attacks, like they make it sound that he's the one leading these like attacks and planning everything out, attacks on these hive. Which, if you know how the hive fight, you know that is very difficult. And how they usually just swarm you and you can't do anything about it. And that's what makes Cabal and anything that can go toe to toe with the hive quite impressive. If the hive are properly organized, which they typically aren't, but when they are, it's a swarm that's unlike any other. But I digress. So as they're moving in, they have all like gone out and have returned to the home. As they like land, drop off all their salvage, all the dregs and such that were with Deku get their bonus of either like, yeah! And Deku doesn't have that many stories to tell the little ones, since he was mainly like sort of running and dealing with the hive. So he tells them a story about the hive and their gnawing and gnashing teeth as they try to get after him. And I'll say Deku's got a bit bigger by this point, so they don't really have anything to do. And I'll say like 4 months passed. And at this point, like, Deku and his crew have just, like, sort of been helping around the main complex and such. And then the Kell of Lions state that they'll be getting visitors from their allies, the Kell of Jaguars. That she will be bringing many, like, quite a force. And that she's been gonna probably request something. He doesn't know what, but that's what he says. And some of the lions say, why are we just letting her walk all over us? She's like, we're not letting them walk all over us. We are allies. We need their help. Oh, God. As much as they need ours. And some of them feel disgruntled about this. Like, you know, how some of them like, we don't need the Jaguars. We could take on the bulls ourselves. They are sort of like that kind of bravado, arrogant idiots. This is also going to the females and such, so reasons. As they go forward, the female Kell, all of them arrive. So as they arrive very quietly and very stealthily, they all come in. It isn't like a catch. If you know what a catch is, you know how massive those things are. But the Baron has a catch parked where he is. But they're like hiding very, very well. They're like on an island, in a way. Like, this island is quite big, but they're like some of the only Elixni here. As they go forward, they do their thing. They like roll out the welcome mat and such. Not Deku, but the Kell and some of the his barons and such, come walking out. And the Kell of the Kell of Jaguars walks out with her little entourage. So as they're walking out, they both give greetings, and he says, come. They sort of just like head to the thing, and they sort of start discussing. Oh, damn it. But the barons and such are walking by their respective Kells, and that the other, like, Elixni are just like watching, just like. Captains are like there, Vandals are there, and some of the dregs are watching, like, from lower things. Deku's with the dregs and such. His crew are like with some of the dregs. He's like surrounded by like several dregs that are starting, just like, he's saved these ones several times. And some of the dregs, like, if is a big thing, make it back, they like talk about how he risked his life for them. So some of the dregs are starting to follow Deku quite a bit. And some of the captains and vandals take notice, like some of the ones that hate the Panthers start taking notice. He hangs around with the weak to make him look strong. Deku mostly ignores this. Some of them try to defend him, but he tells them that they're just screaming whelps. They don't deserve your attention. So as he says this, some of them get angry. So Deku's sort of forming little rifts between him and some of the captains. Not just vandals, but captains are starting not to like Deku. And a few, a baron or two are starting to dislike Deku. I'll say a house has quite a bit. This is a small house, so one baron and a few captains don't like him. And their crews don't like him either, so, But most of the others know about how his efficiency and quick thinking in the field has let him do many great things. So, as he continues, they sort of host, not a feast, but they all, the houses, mingle a bit, I guess is the best way to put it. So as a few disrupt Deku, the Kelp puts Deku on sort of make sure no drunken fights or anything like that happens. Deku's understood. So as he and his crew sort of take up watch and ensure little domestics and such don't happen. A few times, a few captains of the lion captains and few Jaguar captains start getting into it. Deku comes over and shoves each other away, calm down. Would the cow be if you were acting this way? Now shut up and drink. And he manages to stop fights from really happening. But before it ends, Deku is called away because I'll say the House of Jaguars have brought some of the little ones to build up ties between the houses. So some of the lions bring over Deku. He's I'm sorry, but I must work. And a few of the others that were on duty say, go. We know you tell stories to the little ones, so go. So as he is the little ones drag him away, some of the others take notice how he's being dragged around by some of the house little ones, the House of Lion little ones. And so they sort of are all sitting, and they're just the lions and jaguars are sitting patiently just waiting. So he's oh, have you told them about some? And he asked some of the little ones, have you told them about my other stories? They're all no, we haven't. We want you to tell them. You tell them much better. So as he does this, he starts regaling them on his tales and adventures, and how he has fought some of the ghouls. Some of the captains sort of laugh at this, this one fighting ghouls. Some of the other, a captain or two that, as the female captain of the lions and the female baron of the lions, sort of take his side. He's it's true. He's fought them. I've seen him do it. Some of the other vandals and such support his claims, and they yeah, he's done it. So as he continues the stories, he regales them, and some of the other what happened there? Some of the other little ones from the House of Jaguars are starting to look up to him. They're wow, you're kind of like Chelsix. He sort of laughs ha ha. No. I'm nowhere near Chelsix. I am unworthy of being even remotely compared to him. Maybe one day, but the day is not today. But as this ends, he's I must go back to work. So as he stands up and gets back to work, the night goes on, and the Kells sort of come out for a bit to see what's happening. I'm sorry. But as this is happening, the House of Lions gets a call. Well, not the House of Lions. House of Jaguars get a call that say, "Our help." She's telling them to stop, and that they're being attacked by the House of Devils and Bulls. that they're being attacked now, that they need assistance and to kill, not kill, but to assist. She asks what are they doing, and that she says that some of the civilian, that their home was attacked. So the Kel ends up rushing off to go help, and the Kel of Lion says what's wrong, and that she says that one of the places has been attacked and that they need to go and help. He says that he'll get some of the troops and such ready to go and assist her. And it's again like a volunteer thing. It's like, we need volunteers to go and help the house of Jaguars. Who is up for it? As this happens, like a few of them raise their hands, but not enough that really shows the commitment that some should be showing. Not even some of the dregs and vandals are showing their hands. So Deku stands up and says, I would go. And as he raises his arm, he's like, I will go. As this happens, the female Baron, the Captain Baron, pretty much stood up at the same time as Deku. They raised their hands and said that they're willing to go to assist the House of Jaguars. So as this happens, not a lot were standing up, even when a Baron or two said they do it. But when Deku did, several dregs, 3 dozen, maybe even 2 dozen of dregs stood up, a dozen of vandals, Deku's whole crew, and they all just stand up and says, we'll go help her out. So as this has happened, Deku and them are all transported to go and assist. At this point, these dregs just black and white for the ones that follow him. Even Kaminari and them sort of just adopt his colors at this point. So they all rush off to go to the Baron and Kel's not catch, but their ships. So as they get off, the Kel, Deku and his group are small enough to are able enough to get into the position of getting on board the Kel of Jaguars, the Kel of Jaguar ship. So as they're rushing forward, all their armor is just more or less not full black, but it's spray paint. They were just get on there to show their allegiance. So they all charge forward and go with Deku. So as they taken up their position, they're like, the female Kels and some of the others, female vandals, and maybe a captain or two, take again a notice of Deku. Yes. Take notice of Deku and how he's willing to charge head first. And so they ask him, the female Kel goes why did you volunteer? He's I know what it is like to be chased from home. I will provide same aid I was given. So as this is heard, some of the others stand up and shush, Deku, Deku, Deku. Deku, as they jokingly say, the Baron of Panthers. So as this is said, the Kel sort of recognizes this and it's alright, Baron. Yes. And he's a Baron. They all sort of take notice and they're yeah. He isn't as big as Barons or even a captain yet, but the title just sort of sticks. I'll take it back about the Kel, sort of dubbing him a Baron. That's just what he's gonna be known as for now on, the Baron of Panthers. Ow, my wrist. My hands hurt too, but I digress. They continue forward. And they go off. And as they're being transported, some of the other House of Jaguars come up and say they appreciate what he's doing and everything. As this section of the House of Lions sort of talk with the House of Jaguars about getting their armor and such, more their of their Baron, so they all get their armor customized and such to more resemble and to separate themselves from the House of Lions. Deku really isn't trying to build up the House of Panthers again. This is just sort of happening around him. Like I said, he's an MC. All this happens around him, not by his intention of pushing for it. He's just doing what he does to support this house. Even if he had enough members to make a small house, he'd probably stay following this Kel. So as they continue forward, they find out what's happening, and it's a large detachment of House of Bulls that have sent several barons and several captains and several ships actually to just try and pin these down, poor Elixir down. So as this happens, they're sent down in skiffs as Deku is leading the first thing. The Kel is prepping, and she sends down alongside with Deku and them a spider tank. If you know what a spider tank means, that means these people are VIPs of VIPs. Because the Fallen, as far as I know, can't make any more spider tanks. Spider tanks are very old technology, and that's how some of even the ships and such are even still around, is that they don't make them. They're just really, really old, and they have to maintain them. Because they don't have really any means to make more of these ancient ships. If they tried to make them, it would be a colossal feat to make them again. But I digress. So as Deku's taking up command of the defense and organizing the Jaguars and such, he's take up arms, defend your people, fight! As he charge forward. Deku's signaling out commanders and taking on captains and just killing them, just as he's leading this tide, supported by the spider. The spider tank has taken down a ship or two of the House of Bulls, crashing into a lot of others. So as this happens, Deku's rushing through and cutting them down, blasting them away. Deku's crew, Kaminari, is staying back with his group of sharpshooters. Kirishima is rushing forward with his scimitars, or as some of them have called themselves, the Panther's Claws. And Mina is not charging in, but moving up with her dual pistols and several dregs at her back. And Deku's leading the front with the Panthers roar. He is the Panthers roar. He charges and shouts out orders. The Panthers roar. And charges forward, cutting down left and right, blasting away and taking down captains. This is a gruesome fight. Deku's lobbing grenades. He has grenadiers specializing, and they're lobbing grenades as well. Dregs are in heaps of fighting and clawing. Deku is bashing his way, and he sees the one leading an attack. It's a massive, sort of as big as a Kel. Bigger or a little bit smaller by 3, maybe 4 feet than his Kel. Which I believe I said the Kel, not the Kel, but that Baron before was 9 feet tall. And this Kel is not this Kel, but this captain or Baron. I'm sorry, I'm confused. This Baron from the House of Bulls is 12 feet tall. Deku's Kel is 16 feet tall. So he is quite powerful. So is rushing forward. And the Kel of Cougars, Kel of Jaguars, is rushing, as she landed and she made sure, she she looked, since this is going so fast, not fast, but you get what I mean, she's rushing forward, past the heaps of dregs, not dregs, but the heaps of fallen and such, and she sees Deku leading the charge, his cape flying in the wind, his weapon firing, and Deku's crew rushing like with them. And Deku has like several Drags, several Vandals. They're like empowered by Deku in a way. They're supported by servitors and everything. She sees the Baron in the back, so she rushes forward Deku as Deku's leading him. After a large and agonizing battle, they've lost quite a bit. The bulls are like barely retreating. Not Kel, but the Baron tried to run away, but the Kel literally jumped on him and like ripped him apart. So as this is happening, they all are like, Deku's like standing at the top of a hill with his like team surrounding him. As the bulls like finally flee, the spider tank survived. Deku did lose some forces, like the female captain that he fought with on his last assignment is down. The Baroness like sort of is like looking over the battlefield. She lost quite a few members as well. This was quite a big loss, but the bulls lost a heck of a lot more. So as they all pull back to the position, some of the other some of the House of Jaguars like sort of come up to Deku and they just sort of sit down, like get on the knee, not on the, like sort of on their knees in a way, like sort of praise him, I guess. He's like walking around and just he's like, little ones will like this story, won't they? So he just goes and sits down. He's got injured a bit, and his armor isn't white anymore. I think it was his armor that's white, like has streaks of like mostly white with like black paint, I guess, written on it. As I said, is now like covered with dirt, ether, like purple ether blood, and everything, and dirt. So as he all sits down, they're like, as the Kel is shouting out orders for like them to get up into the ships and such. Deku and them like get up and just get transported back onto the ship. The Deku's like Panther, as he's been labeled the Baron of Panthers, they're all just like, oh, this was exhausting. The Kel again gives her thanks and says thank you again to Deku. This is really long, and thank you guys for watching. And to finish this off, after this happens, she's like, if he ever needs anything, all he would have to do was ask her, and she would come running. No matter how far, what he was fighting, she would come. And he thanks her, and that he's deeply humbled by this Kel. And he says, thank you, Kel of Jaguars. I am truly honored. And he's like sort of on a knee, like saying he's truly grateful. And all the others are like, yeah. And she's like, keep the name Baron of Panthers. I like it. And that will be the end of this. Thank you guys for watching. This will be a very, very long video, I have a feeling. And thanks again for watching. Hope you all have a nice night. Goodbye.